Hello, folks. We are back for another great episode of In the Trenches. Today, we're going to be talking with Sarah Dunham. I have to tell you, one of the highlights of my career, if not the highlight of my career, was working with this woman in 2023 on Meet the Pickles. And we are going to talk all about that and so much more. She was an editor for years for Pixar. She became a director of behind the scenes documentaries at Pixar. And I'm just so thrilled to have her on today. Really quickly, before we get started, let's just do a little bit of NLE business. Of course, if you want to reach out to me, you've got any questions at all about NLE Academy and what we're doing, you can get a hold of me right here, right there. And shoot me an email. I will reply. I promise. I check my junk mail. So if it ends up there, I will find you. If you're interested, and I have this on all of my YouTubes. Anybody who's been watching my channel knows right now I have opened up my calendar for folks. So if you're interested, free 20-minute consultation. Let's talk about your career. Everything in our industry is changing. I bet Sarah and I discussed that even a little bit today, because how do we avoid it? So if you are out there struggling, looking to pivot, looking to try and hop into other genres, looking to expand your repertoire. If you're on Avid and you want to learn Premiere, you're on Premiere, you want to learn Avid, we got you covered here. If you're looking for a pivot, hit me up. Free consult, not going to lie, free, my favorite price to pay for anything. So we've got that going. If you need more, if you're like 20 minutes is not enough to get done what I need to do to figure out my career and figure out where I'm going, or you're like, I know a little bit of Avid, but I would like some one-on-one, or I know a little bit of Premiere, but I'd like some one-on-one, you can hit me up for a 3-hour deep dive. We can deep dive on your career and look at your resume, look at your reel, figure out how to reframe things. If you're looking to pivot genres, we can figure all that out together. Hit me up. We can do that deep dive. You could use that 3 hours to have a one-on-one about Avid, one-on-one about Premiere, whatever you want. It's your 3 hours, but I will help you get to wherever you want to go. And speaking of that, super quickly, let me just announce for the first time, I haven't announced it anywhere else, we are doing another virtual Premiere one-day workshop. If you're an Avid editor or a Resolve editor or even an FCPX editor, and you're looking to learn Premiere and you haven't learned it yet, or you know it a little bit but not a lot, still clunky for you, come to the one-day virtual workshop this May. Hit up that QR code and hit up that workshop. I do, and I believe I forgot to note it, I do have a coupon code for you to bring down the cost of that workshop. And that special code for you will be, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't look this up beforehand. I was so close on getting everything ready. Early bird. Oh, couldn't be easier. Early bird. Let's get rid of this career banner. Let's get up this banner right here super quickly. We are almost there. And early bird, all one word. Coupon code, early bird. Boom. There you go. Coupon code early bird brings that price way down for you. 5 hours, going to be a lot of learning. Hit that up. There we go. I've done all my business. So let us start for real and bring her out. Ladies and gentlemen, the lady, the myth, the legend, So awesome to work with. If you ever get a chance to work with her, jump at it. Sarah Dunham, ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Highlight of my career. Guess what? Highlight of my career, Diana. Working with you.
You are too kind.
And should I just say too, your premiere class was awesome too.
Oh, that's right.
I was all up in that. Yeah. And that was great. Hadn't touched premiere in so long, was Avid editor forever. And it was really, really awesome. So props for you there.
Oh, why, thank you so much. So a living, breathing example right here of the premiere workshop. And let's not forget, if you're an Avid editor out there, by the way, let me just throw this down. Sarah, you may want to grab this for the future. I've got a guide that helps you with all the best settings of Avid. Okay, I'm done. Enough of me. Enough about me. Let's be all about you. What do you think of me? No, I got you. Okay.
Your hair looks great.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. There was a bit of a bang kerfuffle. So Sarah, listen, Pixar, a long and storied career at Pixar, but we all know that this has got to start somewhere. And by the way, if folks out there watching, I am also streaming this to Facebook today, as well as YouTube. If you've got any comments, if you've got any questions for Sarah as we go, put them in the comments. Put your questions in the comments. We will answer them live as we go. So, Sarah, let's talk about your path from, look at this, from where you started to where you ended up. But really quickly, first and foremost, we got a little JQ in the audience right here. Love it.
Love you back.
Love you back, sir. So tell us, what have you got? How did you get to where you're going? How did you find your way to Pixar?
It was kind of a crazy path. And I did art school first. I did film school for graduate school in Iowa. And when I made my way out to the Bay Area, it was right after September 11th, literally the week after September 11th. And the jobscape was messed up. And I got a job at like my fallback gig was always like bookstore work because I love to read. And so I ended up doing that for 4 years because that's kind of how I roll. And it wasn't until a friend of mine who had studied film at SF State, who was kind of involved with some doc work here and there. She was doing all kinds of things to kind of help with editorial stuff. And she was moving and she was like, well, like you could probably do like transcriptions for, David Brown. Like, so he's a SF doc maker, right? And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to quit my job and like just cobble together this life that I kind of had in my 20s, right? I'm 35. And I'm like, I'm going to intern. I'm going to get people coffee. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I was selling artwork for my roommate on eBay. I was doing transcription work for David Brown and like a little bit of assistant editing, I think. Or was I think I was just doing transcribing. And like on the old tape machines with the foot pedal, this is so old school.
With the foot pedal.
Yeah. And then I got an internship at Spy Post. And that was really like cool because I was just the front desk person. I was just meeting people. I was like, oh man, like what does the producer do? What does that person do? What does the dub monkey do? And I was just like, everyone was so, the big thing I think that held me back for so long was this thinking that like I had to know everything, right? I didn't know anything. And Spy Post was really like that lesson of like, oh, like you're just going to meet cool people and they're going to tell you what they do and how they do it because they're generous and they're not going to think you're a fool for asking a question, And, those kinds of assumptions like held me back for a really long time, actually. And I was only at Spy Post for a year and I got what was I doing? Oh, and so I was also I was sort of volunteering for a friend of mine, assisting her on a doc called Atomic Mom, MT Sylvia, and she worked at Pixar. And this is the long version of the story. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So MT basically is borrowing stuff from the doc crew at Pixar, right? She's borrowing decks and she's got a shoot on a Sunday night. And I didn't have like a day job. So I was just like, okay, so like, well, you have a shoot, you're shooting this thing on Sunday night at 6. So bring it back. And then I know you have to have it there Monday morning, first thing. So just like, yeah, so I'll just like hang out at your house and like, just, ingest the footage until like 1 a.m. or whatever. And then I'll go home. And so she returns the deck to the doc crew on Monday morning. And they're like, oh, so you'll need this back whenever. And she's like, oh, no, my assistant, it got it done. So we don't need it back. And they were like, wait, who was doing this last night at like, what? And so the other thing is I kind of knew Erica Milsom. So I kind of knew someone from Baywift, from hanging out at Baywift. And so I was kind of in the swim with some folks, and then I got an interview. And to be honest, my first gig at Pixar was going in and transcribing interviews, tape machine, foot pedal, and I was just listening to interviews and typing what they were saying.
For all the kids out there, it's a literal tape machine that has a foot pedal where you start and stop it. So you would listen to a sentence, type the sentence, then hit the foot pedal, listen to another sentence, hit the foot pedal to stop it, type that sentence.
Yeah.
That's how it was done. That's how it was in the olden days. We wore bonnets and like those like kind of sister wives outfits.
Exactly.
It was very dark times.
Yeah. I walked to work.
Right. Uphill both ways. Yeah.
Anyhow, so I was like going in freelancing, and I was in Serena's office, and like she would be in and out.
Serena
like,
Man?
Serena Man, yeah. And
wow,
she was in and out going to meetings, and I was just like, what? I don't understand how things work here. Like it was this big, like mysterious corporation to me, like I had no idea of like just the flow of work and how they did everything. I don't know. I was just like, I don't know what's going on here. I wasn't even that good at typing, to be honest, but it was great. And then I interviewed for an assistant job, came up, and I got it. And I feel like it was slightly miraculous. I had heard later that some folks were kind of like, she doesn't really have enough experience, but the team, like I had basically been doing the job for a while. Like I kind of had been ramping up into the job, and they knew that that my certain skill set was just good for the team. Like, cause that was what it was. Like I was always a content person. Like I was super into what people were saying, how it could be said better, how it could be said clearer. Like, and I think transcription, when you are sitting there typing what someone is saying, you're thinking to yourself, this sentence could have been shorter. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's a pain in the ass, Yeah. So you really literally like editing in your head as you're going, or you're like, I can't believe he answered the question like that. Like you form all these opinions about what people are saying. And that's like, you bring all that when you're in editorial, right? You're just like, oh, that's not so interesting. Or this is the gold, or this is the, this is like, oh, the way that they said that statement was so funny and specific and warm. And you get a sense of who they are through that piece, So I was always like super content person. And when I started there, so I was like transcribing, and then I was logging footage, and logging, old school logging, because it was tape. And so there was all these editors in the department. There was just like, I think there was like it was like 5 or 6 editors. It was Tony, Erica, Tim, Steve, Bloom.
Oh, wow.
And,
the people that I worked with you in 2023, you all the way back then were working with them. Serena, Tony.
Oh, absolutely.
All these folks from your very inception.
Absolutely.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like I was just putting that together.
Yeah. No, Tony was there, and Tim and Steve are still there. They moved over to features. And a lot of people through the years, like John Vargo was with us for a while. He was at Video Arts, and he started soon after me. Super technical guy, really, really great. And John and I were like a really good partnership, because he would just be like, press this button, Sarah. I'd be like, okay. But I had the content head.
Right.
And so, but yeah, that was really really lucky for me that there were the technical folks, there were the directors, there was, and then Steve Bloom was just a terrific, and he was an old school editor. I mean, he wanted he wanted paper transcripts, and he wanted things organized in a certain way, and that set me up too really well for just like thinking about organization and being able to think broad strokes about beats and yeah, so all those folks were just like on a daily basis mentoring me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really
That is fantastic.
it was an
And then
incredible experience. Yeah.
we know up through, well, I know, and I'm going to share this with the rest of the folks. We know that up through the years, there are some really, I mean, I'm looking, y'all can't see this scroll. It's probably for the best. It's not really formatted in the best look, but I'm scrolling down the short list that you sent me, the text thing of all the stuff that you've worked on.
Yeah.
I mean, how long did you work at Pixar? It was like 15 years? Was it
It
more?
was 2007. So we count it at Pixar. It's like you count by movie. It was since Ratatouille. So Ratatouille was my first film, and then and we worked on tons of like reissues of so it was at the time when I started, I think Blu-ray had just come out. And so, they were filling these brand new Blu-ray discs with like mega content, and we would produce sometimes double the feature length. So we were producing at least like 1.5 to 2.5 hours of bonus features, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
For DVD content, for like the DVD extras kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then there were Blu-ray re-releases of, like Cars and some of the early stuff, Nemo. So in between the features, we would have these like re-releases. And so there was just a lot of work and a lot of hunger, a lot of content that we were producing over the years. So yeah. And again, big team. For a long time I was the assisting 4 or 5 editors, and just logging footage, making sure that people sort of were knowing what was interesting, and then the group was just super collaborative, and we watch, I mean, as there's a lot of review processes, and you sitting in the room and everyone has an opinion and they want to hear it. So it was really, really amazing.
I took a picture of my first review round with you at Pixar in the big auditorium, in the big it was a fairly large one.
It was probably one of the screening rooms, wasn't it?
It was one of the screening rooms. I think it was the one off of the atrium.
Oh yeah,
that one.
Yeah, were you nervous?
I was hella nervous.
Oh, yeah.
It was super nerve-wracking, and I was just like, it's like a legit movie theater,
I know.
and then everybody was there. I didn't really know anybody at that point. And we're talking about, this is when we're making, I'm jumping ahead just slightly, but this is what I was working on with Sarah, Meet the Pickles. It's the behind the scenes of the making of Win or Lose, which is right now currently streaming on Disney Plus, both Meet the Pickles and Win or Lose. Win or Lose, fantastic, absolutely fantastic series. I watched the whole thing on my first day, and on my first day there, the last 3 episodes were still just storyboards, and I was still gripped, and it was just flat drawings of just hand drawings of it, and I was still like just gripped. It was just really, really good series. But that first with and everybody's there, Dallas, Serena, JQ, the whole 9, everybody is in there, including Brett and the assistant editor, Sean, and like everybody's in, and I was just like, geez, I hope they don't hate it. That was all. Just, I want them to see that there's the germ of something good here. But yeah, it's an amazing. It was actually such an amazing experience. It was so, the culture there just fostered creativity. at
Mhm.
Pixar. And
Yeah.
that, that doesn't happen all the time. I've worked at a lot of giant companies, and you go in and you think, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to work for this giant company. And then you get there and you just feel stifled, and
Yeah.
like your creativity just goes down and down and down,
Mhm.
just because the culture is not good. But the culture at Pixar just fostered, and the whole team, that team was just phenomenal. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just to skip ahead for a second, so that folks know what we're talking about. And we're going to talk more about Meet the Pickles in
Mhm.
1 second. Before we talk about Meet the Pickles, though, I do want to talk to you about then your leap from assistant editor to editor,
Mhm.
and then from editor to director.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
let's talk about that journey.
yeah, I think roughly 2012. So I think Steve Bloom, who was the editor on Coco, lead editor on Coco, he left our group to work on features. And he's a terrific editor who had experience in the animation world before he got to Pixar. I think he worked on James and the Giant Peach.
Oh, wow.
Really, really terrific guy, great mentor. And he also had edited a lot of Pixar shorts. So he edited La Luna. I
Oh,
think is that the one, Enrico's movie? And anyway, so he hopped over. So there was an absence there. Tim went with him. Tim Fox went with him, and so there was a chance. I mean, he literally was like, "I'm not finishing this Brave behind the scenes, the big doc where they go to Scotland and blah blah blah." And so I jumped in and finished off that doc, and kind of became the de facto lead editor. Um, Again, like, not a super technical person, but content wise and creative wise, I feel like I was in a good place with that. And that was, yeah, I did that for a long time, and worked with several directors, all of who have very, different working styles, and you get used to what collaboration feels like with different folks. Particularly, I was working with Erica Milsom and Tony Kaplan, both amazing directors. And yeah, so that's, and again, like, just really collaborative. They're coming in, whether it's a working session, or they're literally, whether they're sitting there on the couch in your office while you're cutting, or, they're just giving you notes, and they're coming in, and I don't know. It was just really, really cool. And then what happened? Then Erica left, and there was an opportunity for me to direct. So Erica left. Disney Plus got going. This is like basically in 2019, I want to
mm,
say, right around the time when we were working on Onward. Onward hadn't come out yet. And so there was an opportunity. Tony was busy with Disney Plus content, and then so I hopped on directing all the bonus features for the disc releases, which that stuff had our budgets had kind of come down pretty dramatically, because they were balancing the streaming disc sort of pot, and discs were just, the sales are just going downhill. So yeah, but I hopped on that, and that was amazing. And it was sort of, I mean, I had been watching for years. And I mean, another thing about being an editor at Pixar was, like, I was helping set up shoots. I was learning about our lighting. I was shooting B-roll. I was in rooms shooting reviews. I was still logging Tony footage. I was, I mean, when I was directing you, like, I was also assisting you to a certain
right,
extent, you know what I
right.
mean? Because I was like, oh yeah, I remember this shot of blah 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 blah. Like, I remember when oh yeah, we have this footage of Michael from Toy Story 3, like,
Right.
he was just like, oh wait, how'd you find this footage? I'm like, because we shot it, and we know. Um, anyway, so stepping into a director role, it wasn't like I was just editing, and none of us only did one thing. I mean, Tony was an editor and a director and the main shooter, and Erica's an amazing editor.
Mm,
So good. So you're basically like, just in training, in training, in training. And when it was like, okay, now you're directing, I mean, I had Tony was always guiding me through. Oh my God, the first day I showed up for Meet the Pickles, because that was next level. But actually, I shouldn't get ahead of myself. So, but Tony and Erica always, like, with, bestowing of the wisdom and also, again, all of those reviews that we're having, those edit reviews, before we're going to the filmmakers with our stuff, we're doing our internal reviews. And so Erica and Tony are always chiming in. There's always wisdom in, just meetings, like, how are we going to do this? Where should we shoot it? Blah, 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 blah. So it's, it's just such a collaborative thing, and everyone wants you to be successful, so it was very, very cool. The thing that I will say is that I think that I had a manager before Jeremy Quist was there. There was a manager, this woman, Tora, and she had asked me one time, she's like, don't you want to direct? Like, are you kind of ready? And I was like, no. I was like, no, I really like editing, and I'm all good. I still find it very challenging, but so stepping into that role, it was kind of forced upon me. I'm a little bit of a timid person, not like super ambitious. And but the thing that was amazing about it was interviewing people, and I did not see that coming, like, just how enjoyable that was, like, just do from the beginning to, like, doing all the research. Okay, who's this person? What shot did they work on? What's their, just trying to figure out as much as I could about them, and then just sitting down one-on-one and just, like, locking in, was, like, really, really, like magical. And I can still think of interviews where I was just, like, so excited after they went down, like, oh my God, that was so, like, just so much energy from that stuff. So that was really, really surprising.
Right on. It's got to be weird to be on the other side of the interview now for
right
you.
now. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were incredibly good at it. The interviews that you got for Meet the Pickles were phenomenal. I mean, just great stuff. And people, people look at animation, they think, yeah, there's probably a lot of people who work on something to get a project done.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people to work on it. And the fact that when I learned about Meet the Pickles, or about the streaming series Win or Lose, right? Win or Lose, currently streaming on Disney Plus. I'm absolutely not paid to plug this whatsoever. This is a non-monetized channel.
Okay.
But it is really good. I highly recommend for all ages. Parents, you're gonna love it. In fact, there's gonna be a ton of stuff that's gonna go over your kid's head. So yeah, definitely good for all ages. I highly recommend. But for Win or Lose, I do know, I was told while we were making the Meet the Pickles documentary about the making of, that it was a pared down team.
Yeah.
For Win or Lose. So there are even more people who are working on the feature films. And not for nothing, there was, like, I don't know how many interviews. Those 12 or 15 different interviews, I think, total.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Yeah. It was 6 days on ball fields, and 3 interviews a day. So it was 18 interviews. Yeah. Yeah. We were pretty methodical about, like, figuring out the math and how many we could do. And yeah.
Well, let's really quickly, since I haven't done this yet, I've got a clip. Let's roll a quick clip of Meet the Pickles, and then we'll talk more about that. I will say that for this clip, it is just the first 38 seconds of the documentary. I am afraid of YouTube taking us down for copyright infringement. So I did a test earlier in the week, and it passed that test. So hopefully we can get through this 38 seconds without getting taken off the air for copyright. But here's the first 38 seconds of Meet the Pickles, the behind the scenes doc. Again, it's the behind the scenes doc of the streaming series. And this was the first streaming, even though it aired second, this is the first streaming series that Pixar had ever done.
Well, yeah, and they call it first original in the sense that it's original content. So the other streaming series that actually ended up preceding it, even though it was finished after it, was based on the Inside Out world,
Oh,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
Dream Productions. Yeah.
Right. This was completely new. All
Yeah.
new and a lot, we'll talk about it. A lot of new characters. Here's the little clip for you guys. I think you're going to dig it. It's 38 seconds. Goes by fast.
We're animation nerds who love this medium.
If you can do it in live action, then we don't want to do it. So we would have to come up with like even crazier things.
We definitely had to make some big swings in order to kind of arrive at something that was uniquely ours.
Okay, this show is going to be weird.
There you go.
Oh, I love that.
There you go. I love that intro. It was funny about that intro is, you know, I was so overwhelmed in my first weeks there with all the stuff and getting up to speed and watching all the materials and all of that kind of stuff that Sarah had. Thanks, JQ. I love it. It's I could have recited it with it as we showed it right now. Just it's so ingrained in me. Sarah had given me this note of what she wanted for the intro, for the open of the doc. And she said, you know, I want it hard. I want it boom, 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 you know, almost like a pep rally kind of feeling, but like heavy beats. And I, of course, totally forgot. And I was like, oh, I was so like, I'm just trying to keep up here. And then I sent her like, here, I did this. And I said, and she said, yeah, it's not what I was looking for. I'm really looking for these hard beats. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And
stadium stuff. I wanted the stadium foot stomps. Yeah,
exactly. Stadium foot stomps. And I went back and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And I renoodled it. And it was very close to what we see here.
Yeah.
Today we swapped out shots and whatnot, but I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Amy, thank you so much. Look at that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Love it.
Thanks.
Love it. We didn't pay her to say that either. You mentioned Ratatouille earlier. I would just like to mention that Amy, as somebody who lives and has lived in New York City and in Brooklyn forever and a Wednesday, does not care for a rat who prepares food. I had a problem with it there. Just wanted to mention that.
You're too.
Yeah. But yeah, so Meet the Pickles, how did Meet the Pickles fall to you to direct? Because I know there's a little bit of a story with that.
Well, yeah. So, you know, I mean, it was me and Tony. We were kind of a small group, and we were just figuring out like what our slate was and who was going to be doing what. And he was on the doc that ended up becoming Good Chemistry for Elemental, and that was like that. Oh my God, that doc came out so great. There's a lot of travel with that doc because he was going back east to shoot with Pete Sohn, the director of Elemental, in New York City. Pete is from the Bronx. So that was a super complicated thing. And then meanwhile, like, you know, at Pixar, you're also like super aware of what's going on because you're seeing works in progress, right? And so I was kind of like aware of Win or Lose. And we were like, man, we got to do something for this because it is so badass. And I was like, man, it would be so cool if we could like interview people on ball fields. And I thought that's an easy idea. Like how complicated can that be? And Kathy and Jeff from Core Productions were like, have laughed at me so hard for thinking that because it was really ridiculously complex, even though, I mean, you know, you're sitting down in chairs, right? But it was still, like I kind of didn't realize like you have to light people in the day, you know, in the daylight, you have to like super control everything. So, I mean, there was a mobile trailer for makeup and grooming and production. And then there was there was like 5 trucks. You're walking up, there's 2 grip trucks. And my first day, I was like so nervous. Anyways, I had this idea. I was like, let's shoot on ball fields. It'll be so pretty. And Tony was like, that sounds great. He's like, and you should direct that. And I was like, oh, really? And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. I'd love to do that. And then so that's how that happened. I mean, it was going to be either me or Tony, and Tony let me do it. So
Wow. Tony Kaplan, by the way, phenomenal.
yeah, amazing.
Like, if you're watching out there in
Yeah.
YouTube land, I salute you, Tony Kaplan.
Yeah.
Also amazing.
Yeah. But
With-
but yeah, so and for those Disney Plus so for the Disney Plus productions, we work with an outside production company called Core, and that was Kathy Chun and Jeff Vibes. There they are with our producer Serena Mann, and you know, I mean, they just came in and basically like were like, this is what you need to do. This is how a professional shoot works. And so you know, I just showed up with my interview questions and sat in the chair, and yeah. So that was, I did do a ton of pre-production though. Me and my partner at the time, now wife, went around to all these ball fields just in nearby my house in like North Oakland and Berkeley and El Cerrito. And we were just, me and Margaret were just taking pictures, like, and would just walk everywhere and find the ball fields on the maps and take pictures. And so we kind of narrowed it down to like, there were 2 fields that we totally fell in love with. And I was also just thinking about like, okay, how can we be hanging out in a park for a day and shoot 3 interviews that look pretty different from each other? And so we were shooting in San Pablo Park, and they had 2 fields. So that was, you know, a bunch of looks with different backgrounds and stuff. And then we shot, I think we did 1 week there, and the second week, if I can remember correct, if I'm remembering this correctly, the second week up at Cordonices Park up in Berkeley, which is just a gorgeous park. And just, I think that like, it was fun because for the Pixar folks, I mean, we're used to just going into work and shooting interviews there, and it's pretty small, pretty intimate, you know, like we, as a doc crew, like we have, you know, our 2 carts and our lighting setup and all that stuff. But, you know, these people were coming in and getting like full makeup and like walking out onto a big ball field and these huge flags and like, you know, a crew of like 15 people. And they've just felt like superstars. And so it was really fun. I think it was maybe a little nerve-wracking, but also ultimately, I think, really fun for the crew to like walk into this scene. And then just being on the ballparks was like, it was really fun. And, you know, and real world stuff was happening as
right.
you know,
Yes.
the end
It's anybody who watches the end credits will see the other challenges that there are from shooting at a ballpark.
Right. Yeah. So that was really, and I'm so glad we got that in there. It's my favorite like end credit sequence. I think it's so fun.
It was so fun to put together.
Yeah.
And it was just yeah, I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's really great. For those who haven't seen the doc, stay to the very end, watch it to the very, very, very end.
Watch it to the very end. Yeah, and there's a nice little button right at the exact end.
Yeah.
Right, which actually I have to watch it to see, because I think that very end button was replaced with a new still, right? Because there were some changes that had been made. So to reflect those changes, they're new still in the end. So I still need to watch it, but I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna need to watch the whole series, because I don't know if I ever saw the final episode with all the final animation in it.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there was still, it was like mostly in, but I think there was still some stuff that was early days still in it. I mean, it's fascinating. One of the most fascinating things from working at Pixar, and I talked about this with Jamie Datz, for anybody interested to hear more about Pixar. I talked with Jamie Datz. You can find that live, is still up under the live tab on the YouTube channel. And just the process of seeing it, like, because the timeline has at the very bottom all the storyboards, and then each layer is newer and newer content until the top layer is final animation. And I could, as I was going through and pulling stuff, I could look through each layer of that. Like when you would say like, oh, you know what, we need a shot blah, 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 like this. And then I could look through and now I have to make a decision, right? Well, what does she want the storyboard of this? Or does she want like closer to the final animation of this? Like what,
Yeah.
what better speaks to this? And I know that we talked about this frequently as we were cutting. You liked the early stuff. Let's not, everybody can see the final animation. We're going to watch the final, you're going to watch it in the, you're going to watch the show.
Yeah.
Let's show them the more interesting stuff, as
Mhm.
not more interesting, but the stuff that nobody sees,
In
that they're not going to
progress.
get to see.
Yeah. I want to see the work that went into it. And we know the work that went into it again, because you have access to their timelines, right? You're copying over, I shouldn't say this out loud, but no, they all know this. We had access to, to their drives and their reels. And so you're seeing the process of them building this film, and like, why not show some of that?
Yeah. And it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And by the way, some of those ballpark fields that you see, like the I think my favorite one is, and we're going to talk about him a little bit more in just a bit when we talk about what you're up to now. But the Noah Klochek, who is one of the animators, he's sitting on a stump in the ball field. I wish I should have grabbed a picture of this. It didn't occur to me at the time. So y'all just have to watch and see it. It's such a beautiful shot. I mean, it's like tears beautiful. Like I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't get enough of that shot.
Yeah. Well, Noah's such a lovely guy. He's not an animator. He's an artist. He's
an artist. My bad.
By the way, no. And he was the production designer on the show. And, Noah, I remember shooting B-roll of Noah in his office on the original Inside Out in like, I don't know when it was, 2015 or something like that. We had actually started at the company around the same time. I think he started in 2006, if I'm correct. Yeah. So, I'd seen him come up as like a sketch artist, and he's just so fun to shoot because he's such a nice guy. And these artists, they just sit there and produce beautiful artwork like on demand. It's crazy. But yeah, we were scouting with the DP Tim Metzger for the film, and we're all just sort of walking around and kind of doing the thing and trying to figure out what our frame, or taking pictures and figuring out what the framing could be and how many looks we can get, how many original looks we can get out of this one location. And Tim Metzger's like, we're really on the periphery, and Tim Metzger's like looking at this stump, and I was like, yeah, that stump, right? It's like a chair. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, is there anyone you could put? And I was like, yes. And I didn't realize, and I had Noah in mind. I was like, Noah is going to look so cool on this stump. And I actually didn't know, but Noah, I found this out later, is super, super, super into trees. And he's basically, I mean, I don't know if he's a trained arborist, but he has some sort of fire scorched land that he bought up in Sonoma County, and he's bringing it back, but he's up in trees with chainsaws. Like he's really, really, and he's like he's super interested in like landscape design and stuff like that. So that was very, kind of like full circle for him, or not full circle, but it was perfect for him. And
plus, I mean, and in the doc, he talks about how they created the trees. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about this documentary that you see is that, they had like not that much time, a smaller budget, and a smaller crew to create more content than you would have in a feature. And so they had to start thinking about how are we going to make this with this budget and as few people as we have. We're going to need to and then reimagine the trees and reimagine all this stuff. And you'll see that in the documentary,
right?
How they did that is fascinating to me.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess there's something about simulation. So normally you have a tree, it needs to move. The leaves it needs to feel, otherwise it feels dead, right?
Right.
So they were like, well, we don't want to, and simulation apparently is very expensive. What's interesting, David Lally was the producer on Win or Lose. He was a sim TD.
Oh,
And for him to be like, yeah, we don't want to sim. So it's just like a really interesting creative choice. And so they figured out kind of how to rethink trees and rethink,
right.
how to make them feel alive and how to make them feel beautiful and of this world. Yeah, it's just such a gorgeous looking series for sure. Yeah, and all these really interesting decisions were made early on, and yeah, they got it done. Noah designed all of the sets I think he said there were about 60 sets. He
Just
designed
unbelievable. And they're just gorgeous.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
just it's just a beautifully made.
yeah,
It just watch it, folks. The episodes are short. They're like maybe 18 minutes,
20,
20 minutes at like
yeah,
the longest, really. So
yeah.
consume this. It's so
Mm.
I can't speak more highly of it. I was like looking to see if there was a tree example in here, but there isn't. But there, and that's the other thing, is there are 8 characters, and usually in a movie there's one or two main characters, and this has 8, and they're all equally important. So it's interesting, it's fascinating. When you watch Meet the Pickles, you'll see how they did it and the decisions they made. uh and Thank you, Lynn.
Cool.
Love that. And we love that you love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Um, Really quickly,
Yeah,
because we're coming up. This is we got 15 minutes
we're
left.
so good at talking.
I mean, we could talk longer, but I don't think anybody's gonna be as interested as we'll be in that conversation. Uh, really quickly, I want to talk about uh what you're doing now.
Yeah, post Pixar.
And
Yeah.
and so sadly, due to the Disney layoffs, while when I started working on Meet the Pickles, it
Mhm.
was a team of 9 in the department, and when I left, it was a team of 4. It's now a team of 2,
Too, yeah.
with Jeremy Quist being one of the 2, and Hyro, I believe, is
I
the
wrote
other.
critics, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
who's fantastic.
He's amazing, Swiss Army guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he's
it just it
enough too for Meet the Pickles. Some of my favorite shots are the Tyro shot, yeah, really gorgeous. Yeah.
and the thing that's the most heartbreaking about it's always heartbreaking when there are massive layoffs. The thing that's most heartbreaking about it is this was such a fantastic team. I
Yeah,
just have never
yeah,
worked with such a cohesive, like everybody was there. You couldn't point to someone and be like, well, they're not really caring. Everybody was fantastic.
yeah,
And just everybody wanted to make in whatever role they wanted to make everything that they were doing the absolute best. And
yeah.
so uh in the latest round, the very last round of layoffs, Sarah Dunham
Yeah.
denied her Buzz Lightyear statue by
No, no,
by
no,
do
I have my Buzz. I
you have
don't
your Buzz? Was it the Woody statue you get at 20?
3 years short of the Woody, but
3 years short of the Woody. At 10 years, you get a Buzz Lightyear statue from Pixar at your 10-year anniversary. At your 20, you get a statue of Woody.
yeah.
And so 3 years shy of her Woody statue.
Yeah, Tony was 1 year shy.
Tony was 1 year shy. Oh, Tony, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I know, it's messed
Ugh.
up.
But
Yeah,
but
that
Sarah and Tony, though
Hey.
laid off, they have risen like a phoenix from the ashes. So
Well,
let's talk
yeah,
a little bit about that.
the been a lot of been a lot of feelings. I have a background in art and what we did at Pixar and that sort of front seat view into the artistic process there was always like just super, super exciting. And at one point, this was before I got laid off. I read an article about the Lost Art Salon in San Francisco, which basically what they do is they kind of buy estates of artists who never got super, super famous, but created these really coherent, big, beautiful bodies of work. And what happens is they would sort of get left to the family who wouldn't know what to do with this artwork. And so the Lost Art Salon is this incredible place. Tony had heard about it. I hadn't heard about it. I read about it in SF Gate. And I was like, man, that is so genius. They've been around for like 20 years now. And they produce a catalog for these artists. And what was interesting to me when I read about them is that a lot of these artists had day jobs in the creative arts worlds. They worked in advertising, or they were sign painters, or, stuff like that. And I read that and I was so inspired, and I was like, damn, I was like, we know people like that now, and they all work at Pixar. And so I kind of started asking around a little bit every time I'd see an artist in the hallway, and we knew who they were, and we had relationships with them, and we'd interviewed them. I'd see someone and be like, hey, Matt, like, do you do art on the side? And they'd be like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, I got a big box of it at home. And you're like, do you have a gallery? And they'd be like, no, because they don't have time. And the other thing that I learned is that galleries don't really consider commercial artists like show worthy or something. I don't know. It's this thing.
Really?
It's this weird sort of snobbery about fine art versus commercial art. And which was really, really surprising to me. And we've talked about this with a lot of the artists, and there is a little bit of just, like this feeling of like, oh, well, the illustrative arts maybe aren't necessarily, I don't know. There's all kinds of biases, right? But we just think that this work that these artists are producing on their own, their personal work, is a really, really interesting story in and of itself. It's interesting when seen in relationship to the work that they produce daily, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They go in and they draw all day, right? They're in meetings too, but they're just producing, and like, why do they go home and produce more at night and on the weekends? There's a reason for that. And that personal work, I think, is just really, really, it's really beautiful. It's really fascinating. And we just found an opportunity. And so we started an online art gallery, and it's called Steadfast Gallery. We've got about 7 artists now. One of them, actually, most of them are Pixar folks. One of them is another artist that got caught up in the last round of layoffs, and she was a sets modeler, and she basically built most of the sets that you see in Win or Lose. She's like an incredible artist and does these beautiful paintings of Bernal Hill. Yeah, that's her painting, Jenna Spurlock. So Tony and I put this together. Basically, I was laid off in my last day was July 26th. And by October, we had these incredible artists on board, and this website off the ground and running. So it's really, really cool. You can buy original art from artists who are kind of famous. So there's
There's Noah's work.
Yeah, Noah's work. Tia, who is just, Tia's incredible. She has been at Pixar since Toy Story. She's currently at Disney now, actually. Crystal, we've sold a bunch of her work. Carlos, beautiful art director of lighting. Rona Liu, who is a production designer on Turning Red.
Oh, wow.
Incredible artist. Yeah. Alyssa Minko. Yeah, just great.
I ran out of room for my mouse.
Yeah. And what's fun for us is that, basically Tony and I kind of get to do, we see Steadfast Gallery of a continuation of what we were doing at Pixar in a way. It's just with their personal work. We created the website, and, I write most of the content. Tony and I will back and forth it a little bit. We've got a blog, and it's just super, super fun. And it's, again, like the thing that we did, with our behind the scenes is just contextualizing the work and talking about artist process. Like, why is it that you do this work the way that you do it? Why do you draw like this? Or why do you do it like that? And so we kind of bring all that, just like curiosity and interest and, a little bit of knowledge about art and process, not much really, but we bring all that to the game, and it's just been super, super fun and really, really nice. And, I mean, during this time, everyone's freaking out about AI, as well they should be. And, we gotta give props to the people who are sitting there and start with a blank page and make something.
Right.
It's as simple as that. It's not easy to do, and these folks do it on the daily, and it's a beautiful thing, and we're celebrating that. So
Right on. Well, I
yeah.
mean, y'all got to check out steadfastgallery.com. I mean, it's just a ton of amazing work up there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm like, I kind of want to have an original Noah. I
Oh
kinda
yeah,
wanna-
yeah,
kinda
you
wanna,
do. Yeah, you do.
I kind of do.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, we got 5 minutes left. In
Yeah.
this 5 minutes, really quickly, I know you're not a techie person. I know you're not a rearrange your keyboard kind of gal like I am. I know that that's true.
Yeah.
And yet I'm still going to ask you, what's your favorite keyboard shortcut?
Yesterday I think I said undo, and that's
Command Z.
Command Z. I would say, though, even better, Command D, because I think that duplicating a sequence and getting in there and completely, like, just messing it up and with fearlessness is like, that is my jam. And the fact that you can just do that is like, yeah, it's awesome. So Command D, I'm going to go with Command D.
Going with Command D. I love Command D.
Yep.
I love it. And listen, folks out there, if you're making a big change on your sequence, Command D, duplicate that shit, yo.
Duplicate.
You want to duplicate it.
Yeah.
Every night before when I'm done, I duplicate my main sequence completely.
Yeah.
Oh, well, here's a good question.
Yeah.
Really quickly from Ashley Allen, do you have advice for someone just starting out in an editing career?
Do you want to take it? Because I feel like you might be better. I mean, I don't.
It's tough. It's tough out there. It's tough out there for an editor right now. But yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I will say this, that notes, they're always hard for everyone. And sometimes you get a note, and you're like, okay, cool, I can see where that's going to make it better. And sometimes you get a note and you're just like, but you know what? You got to get those notes, and you have to be flexible, and you have to learn how to communicate with your collaborators. And you know what? The thing is, Command D, it doesn't cost you anything to try something, and so I think that just starting out as an editing career, it's not really, I don't think it's about your technical stuff. I think it's about relationships, who you are in the room. If you can roll with an idea, people are going to want to work with you.
Right.
If you're going to want to, if you're down to try stuff, people are going to want to work with you. I think that's because it's all about relationships.
Default to saying yes. Even if you think this is a dumb idea, you need to do it. And then sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like that actually is better.
Right.
And then other times you need to show the person who asked for that change what it looks like with their change, so that they can see whether it's working or not. So that is a really good, a really good tip.
Yeah.
Lynn,
Diana, I just want to say, how long did it take us to find a cue? Remember that cue that
oh
I
my
was
God.
like, were you so mad at me?
No, I totally I felt your pain. You know how many times I spend that same amount of time looking for a cue? There's a meme. It's a pie chart, and it's like red all the way around with this tiny sliver of blue, and the red is time it takes you to find a music cue. And then the sliver of blue is the rest of the editing.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so true. Anyways, just for someone that's starting out that thinks you're doing it wrong or that it's too hard or whatever, it's just hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard, and you just got to work with people and make your friends that are along for the hard journey with you. And if they are a director worth their salt, they know how hard that editing is, and that everything is created in the cut.
Right.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And then Lynn, for for even specific advice for animation editors, I mean, I would say, if you can, if you're not, you don't have a family to feed and that kind of stuff, and you can afford to take a step down and go back to an earlier role and get into an animation studio, just so that you can get that experience. Go backwards for a bit. If you're an editor right now, see if you can get in as an assistant editor and see the process, and then work that way up. For advice on editing in general, right? Obviously, Lynn also says, since entry level roles are very hard to find, which is very true. And then here's Ashley piggybacking off of Lynn. What are the best ways to find those entry level roles? They are out there. They're out there. It's you've got to be just like a dog with a bone. So look for post houses that are creating the content that you are like, I want to do that. That's whatever your genre is. If it's true crime, if it's scripted, if it's whatever it is, and you can actually ask ChatGPT to list you 20 post houses in your area or across the nation. If you don't care, if you want to move to somewhere for a gig, that's fine. Like you could even ask, list post houses doing the genre that you're interested in. And then before you hit enter on your question, tell ChatGPT to ask you 3 to 5 questions. Be specific. Don't say 3 to 5. Just say like 3, 4, or 5 questions that will help ChatGPT return a better result for you. And then answer all of those questions at once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you don't know the answer to one of them, just say like number 3, don't know, and then keep going. And then before you hit enter again, answer them all, hit enter again, and it will return pretty good results for you. And you can take a look at the post houses doing your thing. Then you can start researching those post houses, narrowing it down, get a list of 5 to 10, and then reach out cold and say, hey, I love everything you guys are doing. I would love to do you have anything at all you're looking for? Whatever, find the post manager's name for that place. Find their email. There are ways to find this out. Look them up on LinkedIn. Ping them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I just love everything about what you guys are doing. And if they say, no, we don't have anything now, check the job board, whatever, sorry, and it's kind of blowing you off a little bit. Send them another message and say, hey, totally appreciate this. Would you mind if I just check back in with you in a month? Or if you live in town, in that same town, would you mind? Could I take you out to lunch one day and just pick your brain about what's going on at the post house? And, worst case scenario, they say no. Best case scenario, they say sure. And then you can then make it easy for them. If you're in LA and they're in Santa Monica and you're in the Valley, do not say, come to the Valley and have lunch and I'll buy you lunch in the Valley. You go to Santa Monica. You don't make them drive. They're not going to drive 2 hours for lunch anyway, but you drive to them. You go to them, make everything convenient for them because they're lending you their time for nothing. So buy them a coffee, buy them a lunch, whatever, but be dogmatic. I got the pivotal job that I got is because I bugged someone that Sarah knows, funnily enough, who now still works at Pixar to this day, Cynthia Lusk. Cynthia Lusk worked at Tech TV. I had one in. That guy recommended me to Cynthia Lusk, said, yeah, you should use her. She's a good editor. One in. And so I called Cynthia Lusk after he talked to her, and I called her on the phone. This is before you could even text on a phone. There were cell phones. They were giant. It was a mess. I used a phone as a phone, and I called her and I said, hey, do you have anything? And she said, no. And I said, do you mind if I call you back in 2 weeks and check in? And she said, fine, thinking I wouldn't. And I called her every 2 weeks for 3 months. 3 months.
Wow.
And in that third month, she said, yes, I have something for you. Can you come in Wednesday? And I said, absolutely. And then I worked at Tech TV. This was at Tech TV in the day. Back in the days, now defunct. It was such a great gig. I worked as a freelancer there 4 or 5 days a week for 4 years.
Wow.
So, and I knew it was going to be a great gig, and I knew I wanted to work there, and I loved the content they were kicking out.
It's cool.
You have to have a thick skin, have them say no to you, but the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Do it.
That's awesome.
You will not regret it. That is the biggest advice that I can give anyone at all who's starting out in the business. I will say, and we're going to wrap it up now, super quickly, want to thank Sarah for your time.
Thank
you
much.
This was fantastic. In the vein of how you can get in, if you would love to work with me, I'm doing a free consult, folks. Free consult.
Get it.
Do it right there. Get after it. Get after it. Talk to me. I'll help you out. What are you looking for? Let me help you get where you're going. If you want to do an even deeper dive with me, boom, right there.
Do that too.
NLE Academy/career, 3-hour deep dive. Let's be all about it. We will chart you a course to get you into the edit chair that you want to get into.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind, folks. And lastly, really quickly, I want to remind you that I have coming up, if you want to learn the basics of Premiere, if you haven't been on Premiere, you've been using Avid, you've been using FCPX, you've been using Resolve, and you want to learn Premiere, May 3rd, 1-day workshop. It's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And use the coupon code EARLYBIRD. That brings that cost down significantly. Should be like $50 for the day.
Ooh.
And you will, and Sarah's done it. She
I
knows
did it. It was rad.
It's rad. If you just want to reach out to me, ask me a question, there it is. Sarah, don't forget, let's not forget Steadfast Gallery.
Yeah.
Come on, check her out. We love it. Sarah, you've been awesome. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, who's tuned in. You are so welcome, Ashley. Absolutely. Amy, thank you so much. That's a lot of clapping. I feel the love. I'm feeling the love. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Sarah for joining us. And we're going to have someone else great next month. So keep an eye out. Jeremy, thank you so much. Don't forget, by the way, I forgot to mention this before. Now it's a little late in the game, but don't forget to hit that like button. You can't just hit the subscribe button. I've been told by a lot of Gen Zers, you got to smash the subscribe button. Smash the subscribe button. And do all that good stuff for the algo. The algo loves it. So do us a solid and hit that stuff. And we will catch you next month. Sarah, you are a national treasure.
You're the queen of hyperbole.
I think that's a waterfall of an exaggeration. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll catch you next time.